Kinda had your attention, let's go. Let's go. The show, you know, we're ready, so let's go. Oh, think about you're in front of the crowd. Trying to steal the show. I know you so. You better prepare for war. Are you ready? It's now. Welcome to the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the new era of radio-free professional wrestling. I am Stunning Shawn, and I'm joined by my intern co-host, the perfect partner. He's from this Windy City. He is no other than Jake from the Windy City. Jake, how are you doing?
How you doing, Shawn? Thank you for having me. It is a huge honor to be in this amazing, legendary podcast, Radio Free Professional Wrestling. Thank you for having me, and looking forward on what we're going to discuss today. And by the way, shout out to our good friend David. Wishing you all the best and a speedy recovery, and we can't wait to have you back here on the chair, man.
Exactly, Jake. Now, Jake, let's have a little conversation about your wrestling background and exactly who Jake from the Windy City is. So who is your all-time favorite wrestler?
My all-time favorite wrestler is pretty quite obvious here in the Second City, CM Punk.
A very good choice there. And which promotion do you most follow?
The promotion I most follow these days is All Elite Wrestling. I follow both Dynamite and Rampage on a consistent basis, DVR them both. I'm having the most fun just watching that as a wrestling fan.
Exactly. I think AEW has kind of brought a lot of people back into wrestling who were kind of turned off from the current WWE product, but that may be changing here as we head over to the news this week.
Oh, absolutely. It's been quite the news week over the past week. And I gotta say, in general, 2022 has to be one of the wildest years in the history of professional wrestling. All, starting earlier in the year with Steve Austin coming back into the ring, Cody returning to the WWE, and as well as Tony Khan buying Ring of Honor and other things that I'm forgetting. It will sure be one hell of a year in the wrestling landscape. So,
and Jake, we're only 6 months into the year. We still got another half year to go.
Absolutely, we're only heading into August, so it's gonna be a wild ride throughout the next 5 to 6 months.
Well, with that being said, let's head over to the Control Center and catch you guys up on a extremely busy weekend of professional wrestling news.
This is your Radio Free Pro Wrestling Control Center. All the wrestling news you need to know.
Okay, Jake, going back to Friday, I woke up Friday morning learning that Triple H was going to be the new Executive Director of Talent Relations for the WWE, and I headed off to work thinking that was going to be the big news story for the weekend. And later on in the day, my phone blows up, and it's like, oh, hey, Vince McMahon is retiring from the WWE. And it's been one story after another.
Yeah, it's been one hell of a story after another. I gotta say, I think Friday has become the new big news day, like heading into the weekend, and I just don't understand what's happening. So the thing is that I was here in my computer just doing some work stuff, and that's when I log on to Twitter, and it was like a couple of minutes beforehand I saw the tweet where Vince put out now, forever together. Thank you, WWE Universe. And I couldn't comprehend what just happened. I decided to log on to the various different websites to see what's going on, and to be honest with you, I never thought I would see this day. Considering that I'm only 25 years of age, it's probably the biggest, one of the biggest news stories that I've seen in a while. Probably outside the steroid trial back in the 90s, or the Benoit tragedies. So, I mean, this is very significant.
Exactly, Jake. This is probably bigger than Vince buying WCW back in 2001. Like you, I thought I would never see the day that Vince McMahon would retire from the company. I thought he would be there until he went on to the Great Beyond, and we would have Stephanie or Triple H step in afterwards. But as we've gone through this weekend, we have found out that the SEC, which is the Federal Trading Commission, is actually investigating the WWE for not totally like showing the $14.8 million that Vince used of money that it was his, but he didn't file it with WWE in their statements to the SEC. So a lot of different places are reporting that might be the reason Vince decided to retire right there.
You know, it's interesting because we've seen the couple. The initial first two articles from the Wall Street Journal going through the non-disclosure agreements to various women, and at the first one, it's claimed to be a consensual quote-unquote relationship, but then the second one that came a couple weeks later, probably like a couple weeks ago, that was pretty eye-opening, seeing some of the details of that, but I was still skeptical to see if anything would change. We've seen that in that initial Friday back in June, that Vince voluntarily stepped down in the interim as chairman and chief executive officer, and we've seen that Stephanie McMahon took over that role in the interim basis. But he was still the head of creative. He was still running the show. He was still booking all the angles and the storylines, still making the final decisions. And I was like, oh, okay, it's going to be business as usual. And I got to say that when looking at the past few weeks, like, you've seen those segments where he came down to the ring on Raw, on SmackDown. He put up a very confident face and he was on this confident stance that nothing's going to take me down. And proclaim to the WWE universe, to their fans, that we're all in this together. And I was like, okay, a little bit tone deaf, can't read the room, but it's typical of one Vincent Kennedy McMahon. And I thought that, we'll just see what happens from here. And like a couple weeks ago, he was pretty spot on. He's not leaving, and something might have happened within the next few days that he realized that I got to get out of here. So we don't know what exactly happened behind the scenes, but it must have been pretty damning, Sean.
I think it would have to be, Jake. I feel like it was something that he saw coming that may have affected the value of the company, since he does hold a lion's share of the stocks for WWE. So I feel like he made this move to say, quote unquote, save the company, because I feel like could be a lot more to this iceberg that we don't know about yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely agree with you. And then it's interesting that initially I was surprised this past Friday when we found out that Paul Levesque, Triple H, was going to come back to the talent relations role, because considering how much he has done well in the developmental system in NXT, and after a year of, he pretty much failed trying to go head-to-head against AEW Dynamite, and Vince and Nick Khan laid the lowdown on Paul that this cannot keep going and we need to overhaul NXT. In their standpoint, they considered it a colossal failure, and it's just a pretty surprise that he came around, and especially in the midst of his health issues this past year, considering all the his cardiac issues and how much he's been working nonstop 24/7. So, and with this, not only is he taking over talent relations, but he's going to be the final decision maker in the creative. So that's a lot of jobs for one person. So I'm kind of surprised that took place as well.
Exactly. I was kind of surprised to wake up Monday with the fact that he was taking over creative for WWE. So I got a feeling later on we're going to find out there's going to be a new executive vice president for talent relations, because somebody's going to have to lighten this load for Triple H, because literally his health is probably not going to be able to let him do both jobs.
Yeah, I've said that about Tony Khan as well. Even though it's a smaller company with AEW, like he's taking up a lot of responsibilities as well, and for both guys, it could be a ton of significant burnout for the both of them.
Exactly, and I don't want to see that with Triple H, because knowing his health conditions over the past year and stuff, and what he means to wrestling as a whole for his whole career, I want to see Triple H have a long after wrestling career. I don't want to see him be to a point where his health is back in risk again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great point. Considering like he still has 3 young girls, and And also, Stephanie's as well as a full-time executive as the chairwoman in WWE as well. So, I mean, both of them are, like, considering a few months ago, Stephanie made that tweet that she wanted to step back and focus on her family. And now, like, literally a month later, she's back in the midst of things.
With that, I do believe that it's just the loyalty Stephanie has to her family, because I feel like she was ready to get out, do something on her own, and all this dropped, and she's like, I gotta go back, help the family business. And I like the fact that she's going to be the person over the wrestling section of it, and they got Nick Khan being over the business side of it, so she doesn't have to do both, because we've seen for the last 20-some years, the face of WWE was Vince McMahon. He was both business side and wrestling side.
Mm-hmm. He was the number one, like, starting in 2021 and 2022, like this past 2 years, like he was the number one intellectual property of WWE, basically, in the lack of better terms of it. Like, everything was, everyone wanted to work with Vince McMahon. He was close to getting a memoir together of focusing on a significant part of his life. There were rumors that there was going to be a documentary made by Netflix, which after this scandal took place, Denise Salcedo broke the news on Twitter that that's now scrapped, and he's involved, and he was going to be involved with that non-fictional portrayal regarding the steroid trial in the mid-90s. He was going to play a significant part of that, and yeah, I mean he was going to be involved in a lot of different projects. And, now that this happened, we don't even know if those things are still going to take place.
Exactly, Jake. This is a continuing story, and I know for sure this is going to come back up week after week here coming through August on Radio Free Professional Wrestling. We're going to slide over to our second news story. As Nick Wayne, the 16-year-old wrestler from Seattle, he was over in England doing a show for Progress Wrestling, which you'll be able to see on the WWE Network in a few weeks. On his flight back to America, his plane got diverted to Greenland because of a possible bomb threat. And I saw this story and going like, oh my freaking word. Because it was like 6 hours into the flight back to the States, and they had to divert to, I do believe, the American Air Force Base there on Greenland.
Yeah, that's got to be like a scary situation. So, man, when he was detained in Iceland to like a bomb scare on a recent flight, like, wow. I mean, it's got to be. Thank goodness that he's safe and now back on the ground.
Exactly. And the stories coming out of this was like the fact that they held all the passengers and they individually interviewed the passengers and scanned every piece of luggage and stuff on this flight. So it was a significant holdover there in Greenland. And I just can imagine this 16-year-old teenager and his mom being on this flight and be like, the mother going like, we're never going back to Europe for a while.
He is scheduled to wrestle a significant part in Ric Flair's last match. Well, not the actual match, but in the card, in the undercard this Sunday. He's going to be in a Four Corners match with Alan Angels, Jonathan Gresham, Konosuke Takeshita, and Nick Wayne, all in a Four Corners match. And man, we'll just see if what the update will be. The update will be for that match, but it's still scheduled. It's still planning to take place this Sunday, and even that. So that's the current update on that situation.
Okay, we're sliding over to our third news story of the week, as Colton Holland was reporting that Edge was scheduled to be on last night's Monday Night Raw, re-debuting, and plans changed, so they're holding off on Edge's return. I bet anything, if I had to put money on it, Jake, Edge is going to turn up at SummerSlam, and he's going to cost his former Judgment Day their match against the Mysterios.
That's what I expect as well. His association with the Judgment Day, I was not a huge fan of, and I wasn't the only one. Like, it seemed like it was slammed by some fans as well, and you see there out of nowhere, saw the Judgment Day turn on him and decided to take a break on that due to some creative, and we heard from backstage reports that it was due to creative differences, and it looks like he's going to be back hopefully he'll be back as a babyface and tag team with the Mysterios at SummerSlam. So hopefully he'll get back his Alter Bridge theme song.
Exactly. This twisted turn to a hillside out of nowhere basically for Edge. It was kind of weird because we were heading into WrestleMania season and everybody's been wanting to cheer Edge and have an Edge face run that see him get the title from Roman Reigns. But WWE goes like, no, we don't want to do that. We want to do this. And we're going like, what the hell?
We're going to do that. It came out of nowhere, dude. Like, I thought it was going to be like a longer storyline, like at least like, going through like 6 months throughout the year, but it only lasted like about a couple months. So I mean, that's WWE booking in a nutshell, pretty much. Like, they start something and they can't find a finish for it, and they just let it go.
Exactly, Jake. We're going to slide over to our final news story of the week. As back at San Diego Comic-Con, CM Punk addressed his health status, and he gave us an update that he didn't just break his foot was shattered, and he had to relearn how to walk, and there's no timetable for him to come back to AEW Wrestling. So a lot of people have been thinking he might be ready for All Out coming in September. I think it's going to be more like Full Gear in November at the earliest, or we might be looking at 2023 at this moment.
We do have some more additional details. This is coming from PWInsider.com. A source working backstage at San Diego Comic-Con told PW Insider they crossed paths with AEW talents across the last several days multiple times, and they said it was obvious how much pain CM Punk was in while moving around at Comic-Con, and those people saw him icing his foot multiple times in backstage. So it looks like, I was hoping that he would come back at All Out to face Jon Moxley. As in case you don't know, Jon Moxley is the interim AEW champion. CM Punk is the undisputed AEW World Champion, but because of his foot injury, he's taking some time off. He did come back a couple of Fridays ago doing the Cage Fury Fighting Championship commentary. He, as you know, he also has a side gig doing commentary for CFFC, which is a regional mixed martial arts promotion. So he definitely came back for that. But as of right now, like, no further updates on his foot situation. So he was, but it seemed like he had a lot of fun at San Diego Comic-Con. Thankfully for him, he was with Bryan Danielson and a couple other guys, and with Orange Cassidy, Darby Allin as well. So it's going to be very interesting. But thankfully, it does seem like, according to reports, that Bryan Danielson will be coming back on Wednesday. He did confirm that at the AEW panel at San Diego Comic-Con.
Exactly, Jake. And his first match back is going to be against Daniel Garcia. And I'm so excited for this match. I can't wait for tomorrow night and be able to see this match.
I'm really excited for this match as well. As you know, Daniel Garcia, he's probably going to be up there as a candidate for most improved performer, in my opinion. Like, to see how articulate he is. He had a great match with Wheeler Yuta at the Ring of Honor Death Before Dishonor card, which was a tremendous card overall as well. I mean, it was definitely worth the $39.99 that I paid for that entire night. So yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward to a couple of cats coming back from injuries. The past few months, especially during the summer, both WWE and AEW have suffered, their talent has suffered some significant injuries, and created such some kind of a stagnant drop in terms of star power.
Exactly, Jake. And I do believe AEW has been able to ride this wave of injuries, but having the fact that Daniel Bryan is ready to come back to the ring is going to be something to inject some new enthusiasm into AEW, and I do believe they're going to see a bump in their ratings coming up here in the next couple of weeks heading into All Out.
Yeah, within the past couple of weeks, AEW has gone through some, consistent, ratings. They have been number one in the cable primetime slots the past couple of weeks, but they've been sticking around that 900,000 range. So it'll be interesting to see if those ratings bump up within the next month.
Okay, so Jake, we're going to leave the control center there. We'll catch up on news next week. We are heading over to your very first run at the Stunning 6 Questions. Are you excited?
Let's do this.
It's time for the Stunning 6 Questions. All the whys and what have they done now? Hopefully Shawn and Jake can figure it out.
Okay, Jake, our very first stunning question. Which was more tone deaf? Was Titus opening to Monday Night Raw more tone deaf than Stephanie McMahon's opening to Friday Night SmackDown?
It was really bizarre to see this last Monday on Raw when they opened up with Titus O'Neil coming up on the show immediately, was in the middle of the ring, and just putting out this raw speech to the audience. This is why we view WWE as an escape. We're not going to deal with politics. We're not going to deal with religious differences and all that. And, it's kind of like there's a bit of a double standard there because, they've had storylines in the past where they've dealt with those with those issues. But yeah, I gotta say, with after what happened with Vince, I gotta say Stephanie was more... Stephanie opening the show and just encouraging the crowd to say, thank you, Vince, and leading that chant. It was really... It's just the purest example of not reading the room, and was just complete tone deaf and just tasteless, in my opinion. I just can't believe what I just saw right there.
Okay, so Jake, part of me can feel for Stephanie because I feel like she wants to say some stuff to defend her father, but I wish Nick Khan would have gone to both of them and go like, what are you guys doing? Because this is nowhere near anywhere what a rational business would do. They would have a spokesperson out there, not on TV. They would be releasing press statements to the media, and they would never mention the stuff about Vince on TV. They would just run the shows as normal. But here we are. We're in a bizarre world inside this little bubble that they create that is the WWE quote-unquote universe, and Titus and Stephanie are trying to rah-rah the troops.
Remember in June 27, 2007, right after the Benoit killings on Monday Night Raw, when Vince was in the ring and he was eulogizing Chris Benoit, and then they didn't find out until the middle of the show. And then what happened the next night at ECW? Vince opened the show, not in the ring, but in a backstage, like in a separate room in a backstage area, proclaiming that you're not going to hear Benoit's name in this program. I think at least they should have done the same, something similar with Stephanie. Do backstage, do like a little statement, thanking her father, all the contributions, and then move on. Just focus on what they have tonight regarding angles. Continue with the Summerslam type of storylines. Simple as that. It doesn't have to take up that. And just hearing Stephanie's just pathetic discourse among the fans. It was just it was just cringeworthy to watch.
I agree with you, Jake. That was just I sat there and I was kind of like, I can't believe this is happening, and this is going through people going hey, this is okay, go ahead and do this, it's fine, yeah, fine, go ahead and do this.
Yeah, it was really hard to watch, but.
Okay, so we're moving on to stunning question number 2. As we look at the future of WWE underneath the triad that is Stephanie McMahon, Triple H, and Nick Khan, what do you see for the WWE as we're going into a new era?
There were reports a couple of months ago, right around the time when Stephanie was going to take a step back to focus on her family, that, Stephanie and Nick Khan weren't getting along that much, but hopefully there will be some sort of improving discourse between all three of them, and it's going to be interesting what it's going to look like. I'm not going to expect immediate changes right now, because we just came off Monday Night Raw, and there might be a couple of changes on that, but it all going to depends on what the next few months will look like, both in the business side and in the presentation side.
Jake, I got a feeling that this might lead us down to the road to the eventual sale of the WWE to Disney, Fox, or NBC Universal. I think as long as Vince McMahon was actually in control of the company and the figurehead, they would never sell it. Now, since he's retired, stepped away, and we're in this new kind of quote era of WWE, I can see Vince wanting to cash out and just be like, well, I can't be there, so why do I have this? So I can see them actually selling this in maybe, say, 24 to 36 months.
You don't see him inheriting it, giving it, and Paul and Stephanie inheriting his shares? Is that completely out the window, in your opinion?
No, it's not out of the question of possibilities. It's just I want to see the first couple of months here and see how the direction goes, because it's all up to how Triple H and Stephanie feels about running the company now, because they're going to be the ones that are in charge of the wrestling side of this, and Nick Khan is known for coming into companies and setting them up for sales.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. We've all seen it with the UFC, what they did back in 2016 when they sold it to the William Morris endeavor, and it was Dana White that didn't want to sell initially. He was very close with the Fertitta brothers. It was that consortium that owned the ship, and it made a huge profit back in 2016. And when they sold it, it was over $1 billion in over $1 billion in that sales. So, and hey, it turned out well for the UFC and for Zuffa. They're still going strong in 2022. So I'm really curious what moves the WWE will make within the next few years. If we are going to see a sale, could be Fox or Comcast, NBC Universal. It might also maybe Endeavor can also make a play for WWE as well, and then we can see both WWE and UFC under the same banner.
Exactly, Jake. Now, my third stunning question for you is, what do you see Triple H's role going forward as he's taking over creative and the executive director of talent relations? Are we going to see overtures to Sasha Banks and Naomi, hey, come back to the company, let's try to work together? Because I got a feeling that Triple H is going to slowly but surely rebuild his framework that they stripped down like the last 6 months.
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen his track record. He had he laid out an amazing framework. What he did with NXT, several years, and it's been successful just for several years. And we've seen how NXT became, the hardcore fans' favorite product. It was the super indie that fans really loved and appreciated. We had an amazing talent. It's going to be very interesting. I mean, he could make a play for Johnny Gargano and Gargano to encourage him to come back in some sort of fashion. Hopefully, this will encourage Tommaso Ciampa to stick around if he does feel like I got to get out of here. But yeah, I mean, I could see him make a play to make some phone calls and to see, hey, if you want to come back, I would love to have you here. So yeah, I mean, like I said before, I mean, he's taking a ton of responsibilities for one guy. Hopefully he will delegate some of that responsibilities to other people, so he doesn't have to feel all that, that pressure on his shoulders and doesn't get too stressed about it that much. So that's what my thoughts are in that Discord.
I can honestly see like Road Dogg coming back to the WWE to help Triple H out backstage, and I can also see once Billy Gunn's contract with AEW run out, Billy Gunn might make his way back to the WWE as well.
Yeah, I mean, I could see him make a play to bring some of the staff back. We know that Jeremy Borash is still around, so that's a good thing. So get a couple of his boys to come back and help steer the ship for the company. So it's kind of interesting that we've seen like the craziness of DX back in '98. It's like the inmates running the asylum, and that could possibly happen right here. Yeah, especially considering that Shawn Michaels is running NXT at this moment, and it's going to be very interesting what NXT will look like within the next year. To see if are they still going to stick around? Are they still going to be focused on that pure developmental strategy? Or are they? Hopefully they're gonna. I mean, over the past year, I was really disappointed seeing some of the cheesiest gimmicks in NXT. I mean, that's not what NXT is supposed to be about. It's like we've seen Hunter had more of a fascination of in-ring style, authentic promos, and just a focus on mechanical and in-ring work.
Jake, I got a feeling that we're going to see NXT 2.0 slide into a hybrid 3.0 version as Triple H slowly but surely changes the company. It's not going to go back to that super indie level. I don't believe it ever will. That's the good old days of NXT 1.0. But I do see a transition to something like a hybrid between the two, because you do need to get these newer talents on TV. You let them have some TV exposure. That way they're ready to bring up, and I feel like with Triple H in charge of creating WWE proper, the people that move up to the main roster now, they're not going to be job out like EC3 and Robert Roode and so many other people.
Like, hopefully Paul Levesque can use his position to help bump up some of those talents. So it's going to be very interesting to watch coming up.
Okay, Jake, studying question number 4. I'm going to AEW because last week their main event was the barbed wire everywhere match, and I had a feeling that this was going to be the blow-off to the feud between Eddie Kingston and Chris Jericho. Did they just jump the shark tank with the shark cage and everybody interfering in the match?
I thought they jumped the ship for a long time now, to be honest with you. I thought that in Blood and Guts that was going to be the final chapter of that feud. It looks like, I usually enjoy Dynamite every Wednesday. That's my favorite show to watch, but that main event was really atrocious. It was out of control, and that could be like a segment for Botchamania in the future. It just continues to drag on so long, and you can see Eddie Kingston there before the show went off the air that he was disappointed and frustrated. You can see it in his face that that he lost, and that should have been like the ultimate climax. Eddie going over, but it seems like this is gonna keep going on, and like maybe it's going to drag towards All Out, so who knows what's going to happen there.
I feel so bad for Eddie Kingston because...
Yes.
He's so good. He's good as a heel or a face, and he's spent all this time getting us to believe that he's this badass baby face, and he's gonna kick Chris Jericho's butt all around this ring, and we're gonna elevate him onto a match maybe with John Moxley or something else. He's gonna be another person you can put in that main event card. At the end of this match,
he is so over. He is so over with the crowd, and that match didn't do anything for him. It didn't benefit him in any shape or form whatsoever. It's really bad.
Jake, there should be a video clip when you type in the words "dumb dumb babyface." This match is gonna come up because they made him look like a freaking dumb dumb babyface.
It made him look like an idiot. So yeah, it's really like, really really cringe to watch. So, and Eddie Kingston deserves better than that. So I hope that we don't see this feud last longer. I mean, but unfortunately, it looks like. I mean, to be honest with you, I have not been a fan of Jericho's recent work. It feels like he's just rolling along the motions, and to me, I think the wheels are definitely steering off a little bit, because I don't know, he's just not doing it for me. At this point recently, so
he was so good with the Inner Circle. I enjoyed that whole thing with him and MJF. But coming into the Jericho Appreciation Society, I'm going we've been here, we've done this. I like to see Jericho go away for a while and come back, because we can't miss you if you don't go away.
Right. He did the Inner Circle stuff, and now he has a new faction. We've already seen this. Why are we going back to this? So yeah, I mean, I would like to see Jericho take a break and focus on Fozzy for a little bit, and this does not benefit Chris Jericho whatsoever. He's one of my favorites of all time, and to see him just go through the motions with this, and staying along in this such a stagnant character, just not working at this point.
Another thing they've been doing is, I feel like AEW has not been able to book a babyface after they win a title. Look at Heyman Adam Page, and most recently, look at Warlord.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. The TNT title, unfortunately, has been played off like hot potato over the past year. I mean, it's going from guy to guy to guy. That's not what... I really thought that AEW would learn the lessons of what WWE has been doing with the Intercontinental Championship. It's just the way they're doing it. They're really devaluing that title, and with Wardlow winning the belt and consistently being booked into comedy matches, I know people love Orange Cassidy, but that's not what I would like to see from Wardlow, who is supposed to be the equivalent of Bill Goldberg in the modern day. Being a powerful big man that fans can get behind, and they're not doing that. They're not doing that with him so far, and it's just really disappointing to see him in that position. I just don't get it. So I hope they do. I hope Wardlow does turn it around sooner rather than later, or else it's going to be too late.
Exactly. They spent all this time, almost 2 years now, building this guy up to be the big giant killer, as we're all watching him with MJF, and we all want him to beat MJF so freaking much. He's already done that, and we've been less of a month and a half, and it feels like, okay, we got done with that story. I'm sorry, we don't have anything for you. Here's the TNT title. Have a great day.
Yeah, I just don't understand it. It's really bad. So nothing else to say.
Okay, Jake. Things that also don't make sense. Let's go to stunning question number 5, because if you watched Death Before Dishonor back here on Saturday night last week, we saw a 10-minute match for the ROH World Championship between Claudio Castagnoli and Jonathan Grissom. What the freaking hell was that?
I was happy that initially I was happy that Claudio won the championship. It definitely gave him justice. But after thinking about it and seeing all the reports afterhand from Fightful Select that Sean Ross Sapp put out there, that he was pretty upset and told Tony Khan to F off. Yeah, I mean, I looking back at it, I was pretty shocked that was the Ring of Honor World Championship is the curtain jerker match, and it was only 11.5 minutes. They could have done more with it, probably put a bigger build on this. They did a fine job in that countdown show on YouTube. That's a Ring of Honor put out there on their YouTube page. And yeah, I mean, I've become a huge fan of Jonathan Gresham over the past few years, and to see him just, he seemed to have no motivation coming out. If you see that footage of him coming down to the ramp, it seemed like he had no motivation. And yeah, I really feel bad for him. So, but yeah, I was not a fan of the Ring of Honor World Championship being the curtain jerker opening match.
Okay, Jake, I had no problem that match being the opening match. I have a big problem with the fact they only give them like 11 minutes. That should have been 25 minutes. And the fact that you're going to give this title over to Claudio, and you know you're going to give this title over to Claudio, I would have gone to Jonathan Gresham. I would have made sure he had a few matches on AEW Dynamite in like the last 3 months or so defending the Ring of Honor title, because it feels like they never gave him a chance to be on national TV with the title, giving him the proper respect. Then they want him to do the job to give the quote-unquote incoming WWE guy, even though he's originally Ring of Honor, Claudio Castagnoli, the title. So I can feel for Jonathan Gresham being pissed off.
I mean, he had a couple of stints with Rampage over the past few weeks, but it was only a small part. Like, and you know, it was, and now that you know he's not even aligned with Tully Blanchard anymore, and now there are reports out there that he's no longer in the company with Tony Khan. So it's just really confusing, and you know, I really do feel bad for Jonathan Gresham.
Well, I hope Jonathan Gresham takes a time away from professional wrestling, but he comes back. Either he comes back to Impact or he just does his own promotion like Terminus was for a while. Mm-hmm. I don't want him to leave professional wrestling because he's a freaking good professional wrestler.
He is a great technical wrestler. I mean, back in 2018, I saw his the first time I saw him was that Iron Man match that he had with Jay Lethal, and he is one hell of a guy in the ring. I mean, mechanically, he is so smooth, and he is. I could see a little bit of, you know, early Bret Hart in him. How he can take these technical moves. He's very submission-oriented. He is very talented. And to be honest with you, his promos really improved, especially like in the last Ring of Honor card last year in 2021, how he is so passionate about keeping honor an important stance in the Ring of Honor landscape. And so, yeah, I mean, I hope this is not his final swan song in professional wrestling. I would like to see him come back, either if it's going to be an Impact or MLW. I mean, the good thing is that there are other options out there. And then he also has his Terminus card, which I was a fan of, that first Terminus card. So how pure wrestling is really the number one mold in him. So hopefully he'll stick around.
Okay, so we're going to slide over to our stunning sixth question of the week. As we're talking about Ring of Honor, now they're coming off a successful Death of Dishonor. So what do you want to see from the future of ROH? Because now, during this void where there's no TV, Jake, do you want to see them have like a YouTube show or something? Because they need to hit this while the iron's hot.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, AEW has 2 YouTube shows with Dark and Elevation. Obviously, it's gonna, for the fans, they're gonna hit burnout eventually. And you know, I'm watching Dark and Elevation the past couple months, and I just don't see the need for, you know, both of those when you already got Dark, which is already long enough. And I would like to see Ring of Honor have like a consistent show for a while if they're still planning on getting a TV deal, hopefully within the Warner Brothers Discovery family of networks. I would like to continue to see them have a regular presence, because eventually, you know, fans are going to forget about it and maybe take that over and be involved in the AEW YouTube in the interim. So yeah, I mean, as we know, the Briscoes are signed to a full-time deal in Ring of Honor. But as of right now, what does that mean? So hopefully Tony Khan has his finger in the pulse, and hopefully he's planning something big for Ring of Honor. So, but to be honest with you, I'm really looking forward to what's going to happen, even though I do have those questions, because, you know, Ring of Honor needs that rebuild.
They do, exactly. Especially coming off the amazing main event they had between FTR and the Briscoes. It's 2 out of 3 falls, and normally with a 2 out of 3 falls match, you know they can fall in that trap of being generic and you know the outcome. But this one, I was on my edge of my seat for all 3 falls, because I could literally see the Briscoes or FTR going 2-0 straight and do the sweep. But that third final fall, I mean, I was fighting for everything they were doing.
They had an amazing match even at Supercard of Honor. That was a pure pure slugfest between FTR and the Briscoes. That was amazing. I still kind of prefer that match. That is a match of the year contender for me now that we're coming up to the second half of the year. And wow, like the Briscoes have not lost it at all. So I'm really curious what this new Ring of Honor will do for them.
Well, I was happy that Samoa Joe was able to retain his TV title from Jay Lethal, and I was perfectly happy that there was not that much outside interference, because I had a feeling going into this card that Jay Lethal may get the TV title, and it was going to be like kind of funny outside business, and it was going to be a great match. It was also another great match that you need to go back and watch.
Absolutely. I'm happy that Samoa Joe kept the television title. He is one of the biggest stars of all time, and he was one of Ring of Honor's original stars as well. So to have that connection between the old school nostalgia and to be here today with the modern Ring of Honor under Tony Khan, I'm really excited what he has. What Ring of Honor has in store for him. I hope he continues to have a presence, and hopefully he comes back and continues to have more of a presence, especially in AEW with Dynamite and Rampage. We haven't seen him in a while. Hopefully he'll come back to those shows.
Now, personally, one of my favorite matches for this Death for Dishonor was the Women's World Title match, Mercedes Martinez versus Serena Deeb. That was a MAC classic, and I was kind of disappointed that Deebs didn't get the victory, but I was still happy with the result of the match.
I think they're sticking with Mercedes Martinez for the long haul for a while, but I agree with you. They went for 17 minutes, 20 seconds. It was a masterpiece, like close to a masterpiece. It was they kept it on the mat. Mercedes Martinez looked great. Serena Deeb is, I gotta say, really is finally getting to me as a heel. Her promos are improving, and really liked what they're doing with her. So yeah, I mean, still, I definitely agree with you. That was definitely one of my matches of the night. I still consider FTR and the Briscoes my match of the night, but that's definitely in second place for me.
Well, another match that could be in that second place slot was the pure title between Yuta and Daniel Garcia that we already kind of hinted at. That thing was freaking awesome, and you see the future of either AEW or ROH in these two guys.
I really liked at the end there when they tried to do the Code of Honor, and you saw Daniel Garcia just blow him off, flipping him off, and he is such a convincing heel. And and when he went up the ramp, he flipped off at the Ring of Honor stage and the logo. He has definitely improved a lot over the past year, and he is one convincing dick. So really proud of both of them, and obviously Wheeler Yuta. He was like Houdini in that match. So tremendous performance by both guys. It was definitely a pure classic, and yeah, I mean we all constantly say that ROH has too many titles, AEW has too many titles as well, but I'm really happy how the talent is being portrayed in these big cards, especially. So, props to Tony Khan. It was definitely a thumbs up show for Death Before Dishonor.
Okay, so two more matches we got to talk about real fast. The ROH six-man title match was The Righteous versus Dalton Castle and the Boys. And I got a little bit of bias here because the Boys are from Knoxville, and I kind of sort of know them, and they're pretty cool. So I was happy to see Dalton and the Boys win the titles from The Righteous. It wasn't the best match. I know a lot of pure wrestling fans probably going like, they like Dalton as an act, but he's not really an ROH kind of wrestler.
Right. Yeah. Someone would agree with you. The Righteous were okay in this. Whatever you say about Dalton Castle, he's pretty entertaining to me. He has such a great and funny vibe in his character. I just don't see what the need is for a 6-man tag team championship. For AEW, I would definitely prefer a trios championship. I would love to see that in that promotion specifically. But I mean, I don't know what the meaning for this type of championship would be. So, and is there even more 6-man tags in this promotion right now? Besides the Embassy and Alex Zane and Blake Christian and Tony Depp in the pre-show, I should say.
Exactly, Jake. Because as I'm thinking about it, with this limited ROH roster you could have held off on this six-man title here and just had a match with Dalton Castle versus one member of the Righteous with the Boys on the outside, and that would have been perfectly fine for a pre-show match.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, in Ring of Honor right now, they have 6 titles in total. So that's a hell of a lot of titles, and not everything's going to mean anything. So, mean they're not going to be held to a high regard, and Ring of Honor is still small. They're not on a national distribution platform. So, I mean, as of right now, like I can understand if some fans don't really hold them to any relevancy for some of these titles.
Okay, so the last match that we haven't talked about yet was the Battle of the Brothers, as it was billed, as Dragon Lee faces Roosh. And this was another match that I felt like they left something on the table here because it was short.
Yeah, it was 15 minutes, close to 16 minutes. I would have loved it if they went longer. Props to Dragon Lee, some of his great acrobatic moves. Roosh, obviously, one convincing son of a bitch. So yeah, definitely, I concur with that statement that it could have at least went longer on that.
Exactly, and they had Roosh in here now for about a month and a half, being part of a group with Andrade, and I'm going like, here's your next big heel that Jon Moxley can face if you give him some time and some screen time where people can see, man, this guy can wrestle, and I want to see him fight Jon Moxley.
Mm-hmm. Someone that Jon Moxley can definitely have a couple of programs with. So yeah, I mean, I wish it could have been longer, but pretty interesting where Roosh goes from here within the next few months.
Exactly. I'm kind of excited to see the future ROH here underneath the Tony Khan umbrella of wrestling.
Yeah, despite the flaws, like I'm really optimistic, I would say. I mean, it was a thumbs up show. Carl was fantastic. FTR, there's so much I can say about FTR, but they are just so well done, so well versed as a duo. They're one of the best tag teams, particularly in this century. Hopefully we'll see that climactic match with them and the Bucks. Unfortunately, the Bucks don't have the AEW tag titles. But hopefully one more match for kind of like that trilogy type of match. I would love to see them do that. And yes, FDR, they're pretty much a lock for best tag team of the year.
Exactly. I can't think of another tag team that had a better 6-month run so far, and I doubt anybody can catch them up in the last 6 months.
Oh yeah, they're way ahead, and it's going to be hard for other tag teams to be neck to neck with both Cash and Dax. Really proud of those guys, and I think the icing on the top, I would love to see if Jim Cornette would be a manager for FTR. Fortunately, that's not going to happen anytime soon, it looks like. But they were such convincing heels when they first came in to AEW, and especially in their NXT run. They were really well-versed heels. It's really nice to see them in a babyface role. They remind me of like that mix between the Midnight Express and the Rock and Roll Express, and they're so and seeing that promo last week on Dynamite about Dax, it was legitimately heartfelt. It was emotional. It was authentic. Talking about his daughter, his wife, really, really meaningful, and definitely felt that. So, yeah, really proud of those boys.
Exactly. They are a strange combination of the Midnight Express and the Rock and Roll Express because they can play either side of the coin. And if you told me that like a year ago, Jake, I would have told you were crazy because this is the best heel tag team in like forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of happy that, like we've seen it from Vince when during that mid-2000 era when it was such a stagnant industry. They didn't put an emphasis on tag team wrestling at all. And it's really cool to see such a revival in tag team wrestling over the past few years outside of the WWE umbrella. A couple of like very talented tag teams. Obviously, the Bucks are my favorite, but FTR's is up there as well, neck on neck and neck within each other. So, I mean, hopefully with this new regime in WWE, they'll have the chance to offer more tag teams a chance. Speaking of which.
Pretty well said, Jake. Let's slide over to our last segment of the week. It's a very new segment. We call it On a Tap, as we preview what's coming up that you need to watch, and we're going to preview WWE Summerslam.
What's on tap? The guys give you their picks on what you can't miss this week.
Okay, Jake, the WWE is offering us SummerSlam in a weird slot because it's like July 30th. Usually this is more towards the end of August, but here we are a month earlier. And the first match I want to talk about is Logan Paul versus The Miz, as they're trying to make Logan Paul a babyface. Is this mission impossible?
I mean, if you saw we were recording this on a Tuesday, but if you saw last night on Raw, the crowd didn't really had a huge likening to him, to Logan Paul last night. They did have one hell of a brawl last night on Raw, both The Miz and Logan Paul. But I have no idea where this match goes on SummerSlam this Saturday. So it could go both ways here. So, I mean, I have a feeling they might gonna put Logan Paul over here for the first time now that he's a full-time contractual performer in the WWE.
Exactly. I got a feeling that Logan Paul's going to win this match, and I want to see like a double turn here. I want to see Logan Paul just naturally be the jerk that he is, and let The Miz be a babyface coming out of this match.
Yeah. I would really like to see a double turn here, to be honest with you. And The Miz could come out of this as the baby faces. To be honest with you, I have been watching Miz and Mrs. He's such a likable person, and The Miz is best as a heel, but it'll be pretty interesting what the outcome is for both Logan Paul and The Miz. So he's both really entertaining people, despite what fans would say about the Paul brothers. But I have a feeling this could be somewhat of a surprising match here. I do have a feeling on that.
I do too, Jake. I don't think it'll be up to, say, a Pat McAfee level of a match, but I do believe that Logan Paul's going to take this seriously because he has already signed his contract with the WWE, and he's been in different fighting environments. I feel like it's going to be better than what we're thinking right now.
He has taken this seriously when he was at Mania, so I mean, props to Logan Paul. I mean, he is the fan, so he could be in one. Well, he could have like one hell of a year, maybe an underrated year, I would say.
Okay, up next on our preview here is Riddle versus Seth Rollins, and probably one of the best matches on this card.
Yes, that one I'm probably the most looking forward to. Riddle. I mean, surprisingly to me enough, he's really coming on his own as a single star, and Seth freaking Rollins, obviously, he's having some of the best like promo work within the past year. Like when he started this type of character, I wasn't a huge fan of it. I thought it was very annoying, but since then he has become more cohesive, and that Cody feud really helped him a lot on that. So it could be interesting what it looks like. I do predict that Seth Rollins will win this match, to be honest with you.
Jake, I got a feeling that you're right about that, and I wish you weren't right about it, because I would love to see Riddle to beat Seth Rollins here, and we can get Riddle back into the world title picture, because I kind of want to see another match between Roman Reigns and Matt Riddle, because the first one they had was pretty decent, and I feel like a world title run with Riddle would be entertaining.
Yeah. I could see another match between both Riddle and Rollins, to be honest with you. So, I mean, it could happen both ways. But Seth Rollins is really strong right now, and probably the most likely outcome I could see. So, yeah, maybe Riddle can redeem himself in the whatever next match they both have.
Exactly. Now, I'll give you this. Seth Rollins reminds me of an evil Matthew McConaughey in this character he's doing right now. And I'm enjoying it.
I'm enjoying it too. Yes, he's kind of had some of those Batman 1996 Joker vibes. To be honest with you, so like he's tremendous. So he kind of he basically got he has some influences by our old friend Jason Agnew in terms of his suits. It's on point.
Yeah, his suit game is on point. I gotta say, suit game on point. Okay, next match up for us is the Raw Women's Championship match. Knoxville's very own Bianca Belair, Jake, get a hint, versus Becky Lynch.
Yeah.
You know who you're taking, right?
It's SummerSlam, so I mean, I just don't know what to think of this. So yeah, I could see Becky Lynch doing a squash again here.
Okay, so to be fair here, I feel like this match is going to be 50-50. I have no idea how this outcome is going to come. And I might get a nasty email from David, but I get a feeling that they might put the title onto Becky because Bianca has had a good run with that title.
Yeah, absolutely. She did have like a significant run that title, but to me overall, Becky is the overall better performer. I really like what she's doing on WWE lately. So, I mean, to be honest with you, I would like to see Becky get that title again.
Yeah, I mean, it's known how David feels about Becky, but me personally, seeing what I've seen her in the ring, I enjoy her in ring work. Okay, up next is probably going to be the shortest match on Summerslam's card. It's Pat McAfee versus Happy Corbin. And Jake, there's only one outcome that's going to make everybody happy. It's Pat McAfee beating Happy Corbin.
I hope it's just 10 seconds, to be honest with you. Like, I hate Corbin with a passion. He sucks. I'm so annoyed by him. We always say X-Pac heat all this time. To me, it's Corbin heat. I don't like him. I hope Pat McAfee just squashes him, kicks his ass, and we get out of this for a while. we get out of this like forever, to be honest with you.
Exactly, Jake. Let's quickly move on to the next match, as it's for the undisputed WWE Tag Team title, as it's the forever feud as the Street Profits battles the Usos. Are we still caught in this loop of matches? Is there going to be one sole winner here? Are we going to finally see who's the highlighter?
Now that we have the icing on the top here, with Jeff Jarrett unexpectedly serving as the special guest referee, which, like, that came out of nowhere. How did this become, like, the spot Jeff Jarrett would be in, reffing the tag championship match with the Usos and the Street Profits? I mean, it's so funny to watch. I do expect the Usos to retain the titles here. They're on a roll so far, and I mean, Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford, they're entertaining characters, an entertaining duo, but I do see probably like a 5 to 10 minute match here, and the Usos are so well consistent. I'm going to predict them to be the winners of this match here.
Exactly. I don't see how you take the titles off the Usos right now, and if you do put them on the Street Profits, the question I have for you is, who do you face besides the Usos? Because you don't have another top-level heel tag team.
They don't have a well in-depth tag team roster in there, which is kind of the unfortunate thing.
Okay, so we're moving over to United States Championship match as Fury tries to go for the double dip here, as he keeps telling us every week. First, he's going to have to face Bobby Lashley for the United States title.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've seen that, interesting, we've seen that promo with Theory and Roman Reigns this past Monday, and, pretty much Roman Reigns destroyed him, considering how much of a goof Theory looked like after that. So, Bobby Lashley, I'm glad he's coming on his own as the babyface now. But I do expect maybe a longer match here, probably like around 9 to 10 minutes, I would say. Very cohesive. I do predict Bobby Lashley will retain the United States Championship here.
I'm with you, Jake, but it would be interesting to see them put the U.S. title onto Fury here going into later in the card, and everybody going like, is he really going to be the double champion? Because that would be a freaking wild story.
That could be one interesting story. But Theory, I'm just not behind as of right now. So
okay, let's go over to the SmackDown Women's Championship match as everybody's favorite Liv Morgan versus Ronda Rousey. And I got a feeling, Jake, I'm hoping that the summer of Liv is going to last just a little bit longer, because I'm not ready for Ronda Rousey to get the title back.
Yeah, I would love to see Liv get a longer title shot. A longer title reign with this, but we've seen this before. With Big E cashing in his title belt, cashing in his Money in the Bank briefcase. I just have a feeling that we're gonna see something different here. We're gonna see a similar situation here. I should say. Excuse me on that. So. I think Ronda's going to regain.
Jake, I'm kind of fearing that you're correct on that. I'm kind of hoping that maybe Charlotte Flair might make an appearance here and somehow screws this match up. There's a no contest, and we go on to next month's pay-per-view where you can have a triple threat match. That way, if you're going to put the title back on Charlotte Flair, it doesn't have to go back onto Ronda Rousey and an intern, and I fear that
Right.
Liv Morgan is going to be nothing more than an intern, like a quote unquote transitional champion.
Exactly. Like what happened with Kofi, what happened with Big E. Once they lost the titles, they were swept to the sidelines. I could see, Charlotte coming back from her hiatus. This could build up to Clash at the Castle in Cardiff, Wales by Labor Day weekend. Maybe we'll see that triple threat match there in the stadium. So might be the direction they'll go with.
Okay, Jake, we're up to the final match, the main event of this card, as it's for the undisputed Universal title, as Brock Lesnar takes on everybody's favorite Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns. Who do you have in this match?
Well, let me just ask this first. Do you expect color in this match?
See, that's an interesting question now, because we're in this quote-unquote new era of WWE. I bet we do get color just a little bit here in this main event, because what is a last man standing match if you don't have a little bit of color?
Mm-hmm. What is a last man standing match if you don't go, pardon the pun, all in here with steel steps, with steel chairs, tables, maybe brawling onto the crowd. I don't expect that part, but I do think it's going to be probably a very comprehensive match. It could go around like 25 to half an hour. I do expect Roman Reigns to retain the Undisputed Championship here, and to be honest with you, I'm tired of this feud. I hope this is going to be the final match for both of them. I was really disappointed in that WrestleMania match. It's just so stagnant. Not doing a lot. Just punches, Superman punches, and suplexes on and on and on. Very repetitive. So I mean, this, to be honest with you, this is the match that I'm least looking forward to anyway. So, but I do hope Roman Reigns does retain the title.
I agree with you. I do believe that the Tribal Chief should hang on to this title. Now, by some odd chance that Brock Lesnar gets this title, I think that this will give us a hint of how long he's going to stay with the WWE, because reportedly last Friday night on SmackDown, he kind of left the building after he found out that Vince McMahon was retired, and they got him back into the building for the last segment. Was heavy rewritten, so it could be included with Brock Lesnar in there to toss around Fury like a rag doll. And I kind of hope that Fury comes down here and tries to catch this thing in, and they both beat the living heck out of Fury and just toss him out of the ring.
Mm-hmm. Toss him out of the ring. Toss Theory out of the ring. I hope we don't. I hope we don't see a feud between Reigns and Theory. That's gonna be tough to watch. Do you think this is gonna be the last time we'll see Brock Lesnar in a while? Considering like the previous reports over the past weekend.
I actually do, Jake. I feel like he's going to do this match. He's going to go back and he's going to evaluate the situation, and it's going to take Triple H and Stephanie and Nick Khan to do some negotiation. And I feel like if they bring Brock Lesnar back, you're going to have to give Brock just a little bit more money and a little bit more of something, whatever he wants to. But these two guys need to have different feuds. These are two good talents. They just need two different feuds to go against.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. I want to see Roman Reigns challenge other people. That's all I'm going to say about that. So, I mean, I'm done with this feud. Lesnar can go back to Saskatchewan. I mean, we've seen it himself that he doesn't want to do this without Vince. So, I don't know. So...
And, I mean, Brock has generational wealth now, so he's well off. His family's going to be well off.
Yeah.
And I feel like he'll be...
What else can he do?
Yeah. And I feel like he'll be happier if he's away from the WWE, back in Saskatchewan, living the farm life. And you know what? Bravo to Brock, because he's got all this done.
Yeah. I mean, he has been here for a decade. 10 years. Like, it's been, like, May of 10 years ago when he came back to the WWE. What else is there left for Brock Lesnar? To be honest with you,
there is nobody on the WWE roster right now outside of who he's wrestling that would make any sense to face Brock Lesnar for any kind of big money match.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I don't see him like going to the undercard and challenging for like, you know, some second tier title. I mean, he's gonna. I mean, I doubt he wants to do that as well. So yeah, I don't like. What else is there left for him what else is left for him to do in the WWE system?
Exactly. Jake, he would go to AEW before he would go to the mid-card of the WWE.
Sure.
And if we could fantasy vote for a second, if he went to AEW, him versus Miro is one match I want to see.
I would love to see him. I would love to see Lesnar and Wardlow together. That could bring him like his stock up significantly. That would be an interesting one if we can fantasy book here.
And really, after those two matches, he can go back to Saskatchewan and retire, because I don't think there's anybody else in professional wrestling that would match up well with Brock Lesnar now.
Yeah, and he is in his 40s now. He's not going to go back to mixed martial arts. So we can definitely say that that door is closed.
Well, Jake, let's go ahead and wrap up this episode of Radio Free Professional Wrestling. Where can we find you outside of this great podcast?
All right, dude, Shawn, I really appreciate this time, and thank you for inviting me when you put out that message towards me, and I finally decided, you know what, I'll do it. This was a fun time. I had a fun experience chatting with you, and really appreciate this time. And you can find me on Twitter at JakeAllInR. That's JakeAllOnar. And at times you can find me as a frequent contributor at Sunday Night's Main Event, especially on their Facebook group. You can definitely see some of my thoughts there. And not just professional wrestling, I'm also passionate about music. If you want to see some of my other work, I do have a SoundCloud page. You can just find me at JakeAllInR, there where I do some various interviews with local bands here in the Chicagoland area, some up-and-coming artists and musicians and bands. So, yeah, you can also find some of my other work there. And Shawn, really appreciate it. Thank you for welcoming me into this network and this family into this family. And like one more time, all the best to David. Hopefully he has a well-versed recovery, and hopefully we can do this again, and hopefully we can do a show with all three of us, just shooting the breeze about our love of professional wrestling.
Well, Jake, welcome to the Monkey Crew here, and eventually all three of us will be on a podcast together, which will be kind of cool. But ladies and gentlemen, this has been Radio Free Professional Wrestling. Until we see you next week, stay stunning, enjoy your weekend, and we'll catch you later.
This is Sergeant Arms of Christina on behalf of the guys. Thanks for listening to today's show. Please head over to Apple Podcasts and leave a 5-star rating and a review. Until next time, the liberation continues.